Time now for Stardom and Sit 'em, presented by California Almonds. I'm James Kell. He's the author of Stardom and Sit 'em, Michael Fabiano, and you know the drill. It's time for Mike's weekly list of top starts and top sits for the week. Mike is currently the #1 ranked fantasy expert on footballpros.com. Is that right?
Fantasypros.com.
I like it.
Yeah.
So drop some knowledge on us. Who's a quarterback you're starting?
Well, Carson Palmer. And again, I talk about him every week. He has been so good this year. He's been such a good draft bargain. And this week he's playing the Baltimore Ravens on Monday Night Football. And boy, is that a good matchup. It's weird to say, right? Because the Ravens typically are a very good defense this year.
Right.
Not so much. They've given up an average of almost 22 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks this year. Carson Palmer's averaging over 20 fantasy points per game at home. This is a great matchup. He is my second-ranked quarterback this week.
Oh, look at
on
you.
NFL.com. Now, quarterback that I liked last week, but I don't like this week is Matthew Stafford. Great performance against the Bears, but I'm expecting a major decrease in his production. The Vikings have allowed an average of fewer than 15 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks this year, and Stafford has 6 touchdown passes in 5 career home games against Minnesota. Do the math. It's not very good. So while Stafford was great last week, this week, James, I am expecting him to falter somewhat.
All right, let's take a look at the rest of your Stardom and Sit 'em quarterbacks here.
Yep.
You got Eli Manning there at the top as well.
He does very well at home against the Cowboys historically. Cam Newton, Phil Rivers, get him into your lineup.
Yeah.
Guys to sit, I talked about Stafford. Colin Kaepernick against Seattle on Thursday night right here on NFL Network. Don't like the matchup. Joe Flacco, bad matchup on the road.
And then how about Josh McCown?
2 no-nos. Well, last week we said to sit him, and he did nothing against Denver, and now he's got another tough matchup against the Rams. Keep him on your bench.
All right, talk to me about some running backs you'd like to start.
Yeah, speaking of the Rams, Todd Gurley, right now he's my #1 ranked running back
there you
this
go.
week. Against the Cleveland Browns, they've given up an average of over 25 fantasy points per game to running backs this year.
Love it.
Gurley is averaging over 150 rushing yards in his last 3 games. This dude is the real deal. He's a first-round pick in next year's drafts, I guarantee it.
Absolutely.
But right now, against Cleveland, must start, my friends. A must-sit is Joe Randle, and this pains me because I liked Randle coming into the season, and he looked good for a while, but lately he has not been very good. There's also been talk that Christine Michael could end up being the starter or put a dent into Randle's carries. And how about this for a stat? The Cowboys have not had a rushing touchdown in 8 straight road games against the Giants. Kareen, what a great stat that is. That's our researcher here at NFL.com. Sit Joe Randle. This is a bad matchup.
All right, let's take a look at the rest of your starting and sit 'em running backs here. Mark Ingram, a very good start against a pliable Indy defense. But how about on the other side? Joe Randle, you said, is a sit. Amir Abdullah has really not done much in fantasy.
Since week 1, he has been invisible. And Dion Lewis, I know it's tough to sit him. In PPR leagues, I'd probably keep him active as a flex, but that Jets defense is no joke, my friend.
It's nasty. All right, walk me through some of your wide receiver start to sits.
One of my favorite wide receivers coming into the year, I had him as a breakout candidate, was Martavis Bryant. Then he was suspended, missed another game. But look what he did last week with Landry Jones. Okay, this is a guy who was a 3rd-string quarterback.
Right.
And Bryant is putting up huge numbers. He's playing the Chiefs this week. Their offense is a dumpster fire. Their pass defense is a dumpster fire. They've given up more fantasy points to wide receivers than any team in the National Football League.
Good Lord, tell them how you really feel,
Bryant
fans.
this week. And, all right, this one here, people are going to think I'm crazy.
All right.
And don't break out the straitjacket just yet because you probably have to start Julian Edelman. He's been that good. But let me give you a few stats. Number 1, the Jets have allowed the 7th fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. They've allowed the 2nd fewest receiving yards to wide receivers. And Edelman has 1 touchdown in 10 career games against the Jets, and he's never scored against them in New England. And, James? Darrelle Revis.
Yeah, that's all you need to say.
Darrelle Revis.
Forget about all the other stats. Revis Island, baby, scares
I'm projecting Edelman to have like 7 catches and 80 yards in this game. So it's not going to be a huge game. PPR, you start him. Standard, you're probably starting him, but temper your expectations.
Okay, how about the rest of your wide receivers here?
Keep in mind, Jeremy Macklin's coming off a concussion.
I was just about to say.
So if he's active, you have to play him because it's a great matchup. If not, obviously, you have to adjust. Guys, I'm sitting. Allen Robinson against the Bills. Allen's my boy, but Buffalo is tough against #1 wide receivers. Look at the numbers. And Brandon Cooks. Man, that just brings a tear to my eye because it's a good matchup.
It's a great matchup.
But I can't trust him. I'd rather play Willie Snead.
Jordan Matthews against Josh Norman. Yeah, not so much.
Good night.
See you later.
Good night.
All right, how about the tight ends?
Yeah, this one's a no-brainer, but Antonio Gates is on a lot of teams where people have two good tight ends. Start Antonio Gates. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
He has been terrific in his 2 games back, and he's playing the Raiders this week.
Hello.
And, James, what do we say about the Raiders?
Play all your tight ends.
Exactly, except for Owen Daniels, who killed us a couple of weeks ago. But Gates could have 40 fantasy points in this game, honestly. Well, maybe not, but maybe 30. Who knows? The player that I'm sitting is the best player at the position from a week ago, which is Benjamin Watson. At least he was right there with Greg Olsen.
Right.
This is a bad matchup, okay? Now, I know the Colts gave up 14.9 fantasy points to the Patriots last week, but that's Rob Gronkowski. Before that, they had given up an average of fewer than 5 fantasy points to tight ends. And I know Watson looked good last week, but I kind of think this was the best performance he's going to have all year long.
Oh, no doubt.
And there are better options out there. If you're desperate, you pick him up off the waiver wire. Temper your expectations. He's not Jimmy Graham, sans the Seattle Seahawks there. I cannot promote him as a start based on this matchup and really based off of one big game.
I don't think it's going out on a limb saying he's not going to catch 10
No, not at all.
All right, so here's the rest of your start 'em and sit 'em tight ends here. Jason Witten's got a very good matchup against the Giants.
He does, and he does well against the G-men. Delaney Walker's a very good play. So is Charles Clay. Sit-ems, Watson, Ertz, Jordan Cameron, who's really had one good year, and that's it.
Right.
And Heath Miller's disappeared since Ben Roethlisberger's gone on the show.
Getting a little long in the tooth, so there you go. All right, that was Start 'em and Sit 'em presented by California Almonds.